philanthropic. And so I would encourage your listeners to look at an organization like Father Joe's Villages, who is effective in what it's doing, that helps those not only who are on the streets, but the community at large.
Cloudcast 180. Powerful people, powerful stories, 180 seconds.
The San Diego Union Tribune and Retirement Strategies Group present the Union Tribune Community Spotlight Show with your host, Drew Schlossberg.
I'm Drew Schlossberg of the San Diego Union Tribune, and we are back with Alberto Cortes. He is the CEO of Mama's Kitchen. I've been involved for 17 and a half years. The organization will be celebrating its 30th anniversary. And a break, what's cool about breaks, you always find out more about your guests and all this. And I've known Alberto for quite a while. And he is a very good singer, my words. He would never brag about himself on this, and loves to sing Frank Sinatra. So we're going to make him sing for the next 12 minutes, all Frank Sinatra hits. Call in if you have a favorite. No, in all seriousness.
No comment.
Exactly. Always good to have some fun, of course, on the job as well. So we talked about the 15th annual Mama's Pie Thanksgiving a bake sale. How much did that folks you make on that this year?
A little over. We were able to bring in about $110,000.
Congratulations
on that event.
A fun event, and of course, people walk away with a pie on top of it.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
What is the 28th annual Tree of Life ceremony all about?
Our Tree of Life ceremony is a really traditional and important event for us. It happens on December 1st, which is World AIDS Day, and it provides us an opportunity to visit and acknowledge and affirm our history, our background in the world of HIV/AIDS, and addressing that issue in the early years when it was such a crisis, and today when it is still a public health issue that requires attention and conversation. And it provides us this opportunity to speak to the challenges that we face today, the accomplishments that have been made, and to not forget our history.
Yeah, it's interesting. We know there's been a lot of advancement, of course, with HIV and with AIDS and all that business. This is not the time to be complacent. It's still an issue.
Absolutely. There are still an estimated 40,000 new infections a year in the country. And the piece that we have that is so critical to understand is that we have the tools to stop the transmission of HIV. There are tools that were not available 30 years ago that can have a dramatic impact. It's not unlike the medications that are available that have changed the mortality rate around HIV in a completely dramatic way.
Right. Talk about this new congestive heart failure and type 2 diabetes program.
So our congestive heart failure project started as a pilot project with the Department of Healthcare Services in Sacramento, where we have a 3-year project looking to demonstrate to the state that high utilizers of the Medi-Cal system can actually reduce the healthcare costs for the state if they're provided a medically tailored meal intervention that can improve their health and well-being to a point where they have less hospitalizations, less visits to the emergency room, and shorter hospital stays.
Right. I mean, this is all metrics that this is not sleight of hand. It is you do this, and funny, humans tend to not get these things over here. And really, if I cut back on this and I exercise more and I do this, this is what it's going to. One, I'm going to live longer. How about that for a concept? I'm not going to be a burden on the health system here. Everyone's going to benefit with this aspect of it, and yet diabetes is growing.
It is, because diabetes is in part of. Some of us have a genetic predisposition to the possibility of diabetes, but there are things that we can do to reduce our risk of becoming diabetic, and there are things that we can do to have better health outcomes if we have diabetes. And diet is one of those absolutely critical components that can inform and impact how well we live.
And it's so interesting when you bring this up here, and we all know this, and we tend to be, maybe this is how humans are everywhere. I think they're definitely, in this country, and we know we have a obesity problem in this country that dwarfs some of the other industrialized countries, to be honest with you. And, when you sit there and you go, you mean really all I need to do is sort of keep an eye on what I eat. Yes, we know that some of them are genetic and there's some other things you need to do. We get that. But so much of this is caused by the intake of what we put in our systems over here that quite simply you just cut down, not saying eliminate it, cut down on it, and you're going to be in much better shape.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And you know what? That gets to the point that I've always been impressed with you, Alberto, and of course your organization. The key word is nutritious. You folks have always been laser beamed on nutritious meals. Absolutely.
We're looking not just to address hunger, but to address malnutrition and diminish the negative impact of malnutrition in people's lives.
Right, exactly. And we know that. Listen, when, some of the folks you serve, are most of them on the senior level or not necessarily?
We really run the scope age-wise.
Right.
Among the subpopulations that we serve a lot of people with breast cancer, for example, and they tend to be younger in the spectrum of folks with cancer. Generally speaking, people with cancer, the prevalence is higher as people age, but the age range is pretty broad.
Right. And so the point being on all of this here, start early with nutritious meals.
Absolutely.
Exercise certainly is a key point in this as well. We're chatting with Alberto Cortes. He's the CEO of Mama's Kitchen. They'll be celebrating their 30th anniversary in 2020. Any spectacular plans for big events?
None other than looking to create awareness about who we are and what we do, and taking this opportunity to celebrate the accomplishments over this last 30 years in a way that also acknowledges the impact that we have in the community today.
Right. So, one of the things I think that's interesting, too, and as people learn more about what you do, you also were able to serve children as well, were you not?
Yes, many years ago we discovered that the clients that we were serving who were sick, if they had minor children in their homes, they would give them their food. It is basic human love and appreciation that we have for our children, and it's a reasonable behavior. And at that point, we committed and have always committed to providing services, nutrition services, to any minor children living in the same household.
Right. Our good friend, Debbie Case, who is stepping down as a longtime CEO, Meals on Wheels. Yes. And I know she is very fond of you and vice versa. Yeah, exactly. But one of the things that she talks about, and I'm sure it's the same case with you too, Alberto, is that when you folks are delivering your meals, it's not drop it off and sprint and I hope they don't see me. There's a connection.
Absolutely. And oftentimes that connection may be the only connection they have that day when that driver, that volunteer is delivering the food. And it becomes very evident when you're doing that simple exchange of providing the food, and oftentimes enter into intense, if short, conversation because you have another delivery to do.
And I was just going to say that it's got to be very, very difficult for those passionate volunteers of yours. That, you know what? I know Drew is counting on this over here. I'm the only one that Drew's going to see today, or tomorrow, or the next day. And he likes to talk and all that business, and I'm going to give him the best quality 2 minutes or whatever the time frame is, to do that, because if you talk for 10, then you've lost 5 deliveries on that aspect. Yes. But I'm sure that makes a big impact on the people you deliver to.
Absolutely. It's part of the service that we provide. The provision of food, in addition to addressing nutritional needs, is a statement of affirmation, a statement of somebody cares, a statement of love. And so, which is why we oftentimes use the tagline, food is love. But food also heals, and food is also medicine.
Yeah, without question. We've got about a minute and a half to go. Is there a waiting list for your services?
There has never been a waiting list for our services.
Well, you work hard to make sure there isn't, correct?
We do, and part of the answer to that is, again, going back to our original comment about the importance of community engagement. We depend on the community support. 75% of our funding is private funding, individual contributions. And volunteerism is also the other critical component that makes it possible for us to provide services that are of no charge to the user, to the people who we serve, and that we not have a waiting list.
Yeah, absolutely. We got a minute to go. How can we get engaged to help you folks sustain it for the next 30 years?
We're always looking for folks to drive. Driving is a little more challenging when it's in outlying areas like East County and North County, where we're seeing exceptional growth. We're looking folks to get engaged if you want to be a part of a committee, if you want to cook in the kitchen, if you're looking to be involved at a different level and are interested in being on our board of directors. We can also have a conversation about that.
And what is the website?
And the website is mamaskitchen.org, and there is ample information about that. You're welcome to call me directly. Everybody else does. Or come to our offices and see firsthand what we do.
I can't thank you enough, Alberto Cortes. You're a delight to see, and bless you and your company for all the great work you folks do.
Drew, thank you so much, and thank you for everything you do.
Yeah, my pleasure. Alberto Cortes, the CEO of Mama's Kitchen. I'm Drew Schlossberg, and you've been listening to another edition of the Community Spotlight Show here on Cloudcast Media Radio.
Thank you for listening to a podcast from Cloudcast Media, the digital media home for leading local brands. When it comes to amplifying your brand, a Cloudcast-sponsored show offers unbeatable value. Learn more at cloudcast.us.
Cloudcast 180. Powerful people, powerful stories, 180 seconds.
Welcome to Cloudcast 180, the 3-minute lightning round with changemakers here in San Diego. We're here with Ed Heiner, 20-year Navy SEAL, best-selling author, and education entrepreneur. Ed, welcome to the Cloudcast 180.
Thanks for having me.
Your book was called First Fast Fearless, so let's hit this fast and fearlessly. Real quick, you created a program to help change lives of high school students around the country. It's called SEALpreneurship. Tell our audience what it's all about.
Well, it's about leading yourself. Getting a PhD in me, I teach kids how to take care of themselves and lead themselves first, and how to be their own entrepreneur, intrapreneur, if you will.
Is it something you think public education is lacking, this concept of self-leadership?
Absolutely. It's a mindset that kids don't get. You know, my son doesn't get in his school. The kids don't get it. It's something that, you know, we're educating them, but to be mentally tough and be able to take charge of themselves and accountable for themselves is very unique.
Okay. I've seen an overview of your curriculum, 23 evolutions, and you have a 23-minute podcast series. So what's up with 23?
Chromosomes, right? It's all in all of us. We're all the same. 99.9% of everybody in this world is the same. And we use those chromosomes, 23 pairs, which was one of the concepts we teach as swim buddies, never be alone. Mm-hmm. Always work with someone else, collaborate, and be out there.
Boy, that's a lesson for life for sure. Ed, you were in charge of basic and advanced training for the U.S. Navy SEALs, and I mentioned you're a 20-year SEAL. Tell our audience the greatest lesson from the SEALs that have changed you forever.
Probably in the back of a helicopter one night in Iraq before I was getting ready to fly into an Al-Qaeda target, it dawned on me that when a pilot said, you have this many souls on board, it dawned on me that the opposite of fear is love. It's not else. I don't fight for what I hate in front of me. I fight for what's beside me and behind me that I love.
Wow, it's a powerful concept. Wow. You've talked a lot about the blue-collar scholar as a concept. Fascinating. Tell our audience, what is the blue-collar scholar as it relates to your SEALpreneurship program?
It's a mental concept where people take control. Don't outsource their life. Look, we're going to have people that are in white coats, suits and ties, doctors, PhDs. That's fine. Listen to that and learn your information from them. But eventually, you got to be that mechanic in your own life. You got to turn the wrench. This is happening. So basically, take control of your own life. Use what you can use from other people. Discard it. What you can't, and make that your own. Leadership is something that you do. It's you do with people, not to them. And one of the best forms of leadership I learned in the back of that helicopter is called MOM.
Ed,
Focus on mission, others, me.
Mission, others, me. Ed, thank you for being here. This has been the Cloudcast 180. We hit it fast and fearlessly. We're out.
Cloudcast 180. Powerful people, powerful stories, 180 seconds.